Welcome to episode 4 of Modern Main Street Podcast. Today we are going to talk about the real timeline for local business growth. And I am so excited to be back online. I was offline for about a month and I am super excited to be back online again and bring this to you. So let me ask you a question. If marketing hasn't worked in 30 days, do you quit? The truth is that most business owners quit way too early. I want you to really sit with that for a second because I see this all the time, all the time. And it's not because business owners are impatient, it's because they were trained to expect speed. So you expect things to happen overnight. And I can't tell you how many times people have come to me and asked me, Lisa, can you make this happen in 30 days? Well, the truth of the matter is usually no. Usually those expectations are unrealistic. And that's because we are trained to believe that it can happen. And it can happen, but usually it doesn't. So you've been told you can generate leads quickly, you can grow fast, you can turn things around in weeks. And when that doesn't happen, you assume something went wrong with your marketing, with your strategy, or worse, with you. But here's the truth. Local business growth doesn't happen in leaps. It happens in layers. And if you don't understand the timeline, you'll quit in the middle of what was actually starting to work. And this is what I see all the time. I see people want immediate results, but immediate results are usually not the norm. Okay. So, what I want to talk to you, I want to walk you through a system today, and I want you to reset your expectations based on what I am telling you today. So, why are unrealistic timelines everywhere today? Well, let me tell you where all that pressure comes from. It's because it didn't just happen out of nowhere. It's been built into marketing and the way marketing is talked about. You've probably seen ads that say, get leads in 7 days, explode your growth, sign clients this week. And listen, those things can actually happen. But what you're not seeing is the context behind them. You are not seeing the audience that already existed, the reputation that was already built, and the systems that were already in place. And you're comparing yourself to results of business owners that had those things in place when you are just building them. You're seeing the result without the runway. And y'all know when you have a launch, there's a runway, there's preparation. And it is the same when you're building a business. There's a lot of preparation and a lot of things that go into making that business successful. So when you're seeing the results without the runway, you are getting an unrealistic expectation of what will happen for you. And that's where I see the frustration set in. And then we add in social media. You see someone post something and it blows up. And suddenly that becomes your expectation. But what you didn't see is how long they've been showing up, how many times they've said the same thing over and over and over, and how much trust they've already built. So now you're operating with a timeline that was never realistic to you to begin with. And it creates pressure, and pressure leads to rushed decisions. So, the next thing I want to talk about is how can you get those results? Because I know you want them and I want you to have them. So we're going to talk about how trust built trust-based buying actually works locally. Okay. For local business owners, it's a little different than online. So let's talk about something most people don't factor in. Local buying behavior is different. It's different than online. When someone is choosing a local business, they're not just buying a service. They are choosing someone they feel comfortable trusting. Think about it. A contractor, a chiropractor, a salon, a cleaning company. There's risk involved when you use those services. And when risk is involved, people slow down. They look you up. They read reviews. They check out your presence. They notice if you keep showing up. Studies have shown that the majority of consumers read multiple reviews before making a local buying decision. That alone should tell you something. People are not making fast decisions. They are making considered decisions. So, if your expectation is, I posted this, why didn't it convert? Which is what I see a lot, honestly. I cannot tell you how often people say, well, I got a lot of likes, but nobody bought. And I posted this and it went viral and I didn't make any sales. It happens all of the time. And that's because you are measuring the wrong thing. Because before the conversions, you have to build awareness, familiarity, trust, and then, and only then, the decision happens. And that takes time. And most business owners I see don't have the patience to wait it out. So here's a warning, or here's a warming phase that a lot of people don't talk about. You see more about it now than you used to, but people need to be warmed up to you. They don't automatically just buy because you showed up. This is the part that changes everything once you see it. There's a phase in marketing where everything is working and it looks like nothing is happening. And that I see so much. I call this the warming phase. This is when people are seeing you, they're recognizing your name, people are paying attention quietly. You don't know it. You think they're not taking action because they're not ready yet. They're not taking action yet, but that does not mean there's nothing happening. And this is when most business owners quit. This is when I see the majority of people get frustrated. They think it's not working and they quit. Because it feels like I'm doing all this work and nothing's happening. But something is happening. Something big. You can't measure it easily. And this is another thing that marketers don't talk about too often. The thing that you cannot measure in this warming phase is how many people are really warming up to you. You can't measure it easily. You can notice things, there's signals, but it's not easily measurable. So when big marketing companies say, they measure this and they measure that, they measure the results. They don't measure the work that goes into those results a lot of times. So warming up, you can't measure it easily. Someone sees your content. They don't hit like. They don't like it. They don't hit the like button. They don't comment. They don't click. But they keep seeing you. And a week later, they see you again, and then again. And then one day, they need what you offer. They remember you and they reach out. From your perspective, that lead came out of nowhere, but it didn't. It was built over time. It was built over time. And this is why I say the absence of immediate results does not mean the absence of progress. The absence of immediate results does not mean the absence of progress, because everything you are doing to build your business is working behind the scenes. You're not seeing it yet. This is where the biggest mindset shift has to happen. Slow growth is often stable growth in disguise. It doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere, but you really are. So let's look at some short term signals versus long term indicators, and let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about what you're paying attention to first, because that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. Most business owners are watching short term signals such as likes, views, clicks, immediate leads, but those don't spike. When those don't spike quickly, or even if they do, it's usually not sustainable. But when it doesn't happen quickly, it feels like a failure. It feels like everything you're doing isn't making any sense. It's not working. But those are the most important. They're not the most important indicators. Those likes. And I think I've hit on that a few times already. The likes, the engagement, the clicks, the immediate leads, those are not the most important indicators. The real indicators are harder to see and a lot harder to measure. They're things like, are people recognizing your name? And I know for myself, for years, I was marketing my business and I didn't feel like people knew me. But honestly, I get more people now, years later, that say, Lisa, I've seen your content for years. I've been following you for years, and I never knew. Trust me when I tell you that people are noticing you. They are recognizing your name. They are seeing you repeatedly. They are mentioning you to others. And they're probably going to come back later. Are they? These are the long-term signals. They matter much more, but they require a lot of patience. And here's the tricky part. Just because you can't track something doesn't mean it's not influencing decisions. Just because you can't track it doesn't mean it's not influencing decisions, because it is. That repeat messaging that you keep repeating, and you feel like a parrot saying the same thing over and over and over again. But here's the thing. You're building trust because you're talking about the same thing over and over and over again. You're building a following. But you have to have patience because people need to notice you, and that takes time. A lot of your marketing is working in ways that you can't immediately measure. And if you only trust what you can see right away, you'll constantly interrupt your own process. You are making progress, but you don't know it. And most business owners I see, they get frustrated and they change things. They'll change their market, they'll change their message, they'll change something. And all that progress it goes back to day one. You have to start over. So when you repeat that same thing over and over and over, you have to have the patience and stick with it. So I want to talk a little bit about resetting your expectations without losing momentum. I want to be really clear about something. This is not about slowing down your effort. It's about stabilizing your expectations. You don't need to do less. You need to think differently about what working looks like. What does working look like to you? Instead of thinking, I need results now, shift your mindset to, I need consistency long enough for results to build. I need consistency long enough for results to build. And that's the truth. Here's a more grounded timeline to think about for your local business. And if you are starting over, if you are starting a business, or even if you are rethinking how you are doing things, this is a good timeline to use. And I honestly created a workbook for you. It is a $27 workbook, and it is available for you. If you want the workbook, drop a message below workbook, and I will make sure that you get it. But I want to give you the general framework for that. So in the first 30 days, you're going to be testing, you're going to be learning, and you're going to get visible. That's what the first 30 days is all about. So once your messaging is refined, you know who your audience is, your messaging is down, you are getting it out there, you are testing, you are learning what they want, what they don't like, and you are becoming visible to your audience for 30 days. From 60 to 90 days, you're going to start to see patterns. You're going to start to see patterns, and you're going to start to recognize what resonates with your audience. And then for the next 3 to 6 months, you can compound your results. You compound, you become more familiar, and you become trusted. And that is when things start to feel different to you. Because when they trust you, things shift. Most people never get here though, because they stop too early. They give up. They change direction way too often. And they interrupt the very thing that would have worked. But I don't want you to do that. I want you to stick with it. Momentum doesn't come from speed. It comes from staying in the same direction long enough. And that is why patience is your competitive advantage over your competition. And this is where things get interesting, because most business owners are not consistent. Think about what you've done in the past. You start, you stop, you pivot, you restart over and over and over again, which means if you stay consistent, you are already ahead of your competition. Not because you're better, but because you didn't quit, and they did, and they restarted, and they shifted, and they pivoted. They're doing all the things that you are not going to do. Inconsistent businesses reset. Consistent businesses compound, and that's the game. And patience is what allows you to stay in it long enough to win. You have to have the patience to stick with your process, stick with what you are doing long enough for it to take hold. I see so many people not have the patience, and what happens is they end up starting over and over and over several times a year. So in 2026, patience is not passive, it is strategic, because it allows that trust to build. And trust is what drives local business growth. Without it, it's going to be hard. So let's bring it all together for the end of this podcast. Growth is not an event. It's not a spike. It's not a moment, which is what so many think. It's layering processes, layering processes, which shows the progress. Most people quit in the middle of it because it doesn't look like it's working yet, but it is. The shift you need to make is this: from I need this to work fast to I'm building something that works consistently. Because the businesses that grow are not the ones who get lucky. Okay? They're the ones who stay long enough for it to work. And that is exactly the kind of thinking that we build inside the local growth hub. Not urgency, not pressure, but clarity, consistency, and systems that actually hold up over time. And I invite you to join me there. But even if you don't, stay tuned for the next episode of Modern Main Street, where I help local business owners understand how exactly to grow their business in challenging times. Thank you for listening.